Welcome back, y'all. I just got finished watching Texas beat A&M in double overtime, so that's who Tennessee will be facing tomorrow. The game will probably start at about 4 p.m. Eastern, but man, that's about as good of a draw as Tennessee could hope for, especially because Texas has played back-to-back games and back-to-back days, and then this previous one just came in double overtime. And besides all of that, I mean, just the style, we match up with them very, very well. But we got to come to play, so hopefully we will do just that. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about Tennessee's offensive line because as I'm watching the game, I'm going through looking at Tennessee's depth chart, and I just think that this offensive line is going to be really good in 2025, and really, I'll say in 2026 too. It's looking good. It's a whole lot of young talent, and it looks even better on paper. So I'm going to show you who I think the starters will be, and I'll show you some other options, and we'll mix and match players, have some fun with it. But as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. All right, y'all. This is how I think Tennessee's starting offensive line will look in 2025, and obviously, we're just 3 days into spring practice, so everything is subject to change. But this is how things are trending up to this point. Pay attention to the sizes, pay attention to the years of all these players because we have a lot of very talented youth on this offensive line, and I'm just excited about this whole deal. So we're going to start off at left tackle with Junior Lance Hurd, listed at 6'6", 330 pounds. Number one offensive tackle coming out of 2024 class, and obviously he's a five-star guy. He has all the talent that you could ever hope for, a prototype tackle, and he wasn't as consistent last year, but I think that obviously transferring in from LSU, the tempo was just night and day from LSU to Tennessee, and he just wasn't really in shape, so that's what I would blame it on. And I've seen some pictures. I've seen a few clips of him in some of the off-season training stuff. I haven't seen him so far, in clips in practice, but he did look like his body composition is significantly better than it was last year. So I think that he's going to come in 2025 in shape. And this is a send-off year for him. He wants to be a top 5 draft pick, and he's got all the talent and all the skills to do it. It's just going to be up to him to, maintain that consistency with all the work that he's already put in to get himself, back into really good shape. I think that he's going to be fine, man. Second season inside a hypo system. I think he's rock solid right there on Nico's blind side. So at right tackle, I do have freshman David Sanders listed at 6'6", 290 pounds. It's tough for a freshman to play, especially at one of the tackle spots in the SEC. But if anyone can do it, it's definitely David Sanders. He's another one, 5-star offensive tackle. On some sites and at some points, he was the number one offensive tackle in the entire country. And I've seen the other ones that they had ranked over David Sanders. David Sanders is the best. He's really, really good. Okay, so he's a generational type of an athlete playing on the offensive line. So super excited about him. Also, looking at his size, man, 6'6", 290. He said that he wants to get up to 300, maybe 305. He's already gained some weight. He might be close to about 300 right now. And I just would not be surprised if he gets up to about 310, maybe 315 before the season starts, because there will be another period where the players can, get their bodies right and things like that over the summer. And that's typically where I think, especially the guys in the trenches, they start to look a lot better as we get closer to the season. I think that we're all very excited about David Sanders. Now let's jump back to left guard. We have our transfer, Wendell Moy. He's going to be a redshirt junior, 6'2", 335. And man, look, he's a short, stocky guy with a whole lot of strength. His run blocking looks great. He's a mauler. He looks good out in space, and he's really good with his pass pro. His pass pro is elite. So also very excited about him. But also, man, clocked as fast as 20 miles per hour. Both of our transfer guards, they're really fast guys, and we can actually talk about Sam Pendleton, redshirt sophomore, 6'4", 310 pounds, and he's a guy that I feel like could probably gain some more weight too, and he probably will before the season starts because he would be, I think, the smallest guard that Coach Heupel's had here in Knoxville. But, whether he stays at that size or not, I mean, he's an older guy, so he's got a little bit of that grown man strength. I love him, man. He's a guy that could play at center. He could also play at guard. He talked about at Notre Dame, 75% of his practice reps were at center, but 100% of his game reps was actually at guard. And he played at right guard and at left guard. So very versatile guy. And, we'll talk some about what these guards could mean to Tennessee's scheme change that Nico kind of hinted to. Not in this video, but we will do that in the video coming up here pretty soon. Last, we're going to talk about our center, redshirt freshman, William Satterwhite, 6'3", 301 pounds. He's a really tough, scrappy guy, very intelligent. You got to be so playing at center. And I think that he will get the start for sure. Like, he's just, I know that there's a whole lot of talk, and I always say this, but there's a whole lot of talk about some other bodies being tried out there. But I feel like that's more just for depth purposes. I think that he is the guy. If you kind of listen to what Nico was saying, sounds like Nico believes that he will be the guy as well. If that's who Nico wants to start, not to say that he's going to necessarily say, hey, well, Sat's going to start and Jesse Perry's not and Sam Pendleton, right? I'm not saying it that way, but if Nico is more comfortable with Sat, then obviously, the coaching staff is going to look at that very strongly. So I think that he's going to get that start there. He's another one that I would not be surprised if he gains a little bit of weight heading into the season. And I think this is the second most likely starting offensive line for Tennessee in 2025. The only difference is that Larry Johnson is now starting at right tackle. He's a redshirt junior listed at 6'7", 350 pounds, and he's very well put together. He's a mauler. He can do a lot of good things. We talked about him versus Oklahoma last season playing at left tackle, which is all he did last year. He looked really good in that game. But what I have noticed is, since spring practice started, there have been some pictures of Larry Johnson running with the ones at right tackle. So that competition between him and David Sanders and also Bennett Warren and, a couple of other players is going to be fierce. But I really think it's going to come down to David Sanders and Larry Johnson. But looking at this offensive line from left to right, you're seeing that there's a lot more vets out there, and that could be a very positive thing. I would not be surprised by any means if Larry Johnson is our starting right tackle in week one, and maybe we try to slowly, get David Sanders out there, just because, like we talked about, it is difficult to play tackle in this league, and it is something to be said about having that, those vets playing especially at tackle for you. So I like the way that this one looks. There's a whole lot of size. I think that we could run the football very well with all these guys out there. So this one looks great. All right, now let's start to mix and match and have some fun with this. So on this first one, we're going to move Sam Pendleton from right guard to center, and we're also going to move Larry Johnson to right guard, and we're going to move David Sanders back starting at right tackle. Now, again, you're seeing a lot of vets out there outside of David Sanders playing at tackle. And I like the way that this one looks too, right? We have some good options. And as y'all can also tell, the left side, I'm not changing that at all. I love both of those guys over there. But this right here, dude, this gives you a lot of maulers up front. And I think that we're going to be able to run the football very well. There's a lot of really good athletes too. So, I'm moving Larry Johnson in at guard just because he's a bigger player. And like I said, Tennessee typically likes our guards to be a little bit bigger. Now, that could kind of mess with the new scheme change that I'm thinking Tennessee's going to try to do. And that could just be part of it. But, I think that if you're talking about being able to run the football, like wherever you want to, Larry Johnson is a guy that you can definitely run behind all day long. And so is Wendell Moy. And I love, obviously, Lance Hurd. He's a mauler. But I love what David Sanders has shown me in his high school clips as a run blocker. And I think that Sam Pendleton is going to do a great job there, too. So this right here, I don't know. This might be from top to bottom, maybe the best offensive line that Tennessee could put out there. Well, we also have this one, and I like this one a lot, too. So we moved Jesse Perry in at right guard, which he's been playing a whole lot of right guard up to this point in spring practice. Obviously, he's going to probably play in some different spots. I think that the staff is liking him more at guard at this point. But last year, he was playing at tackle, and he was probably our best freshman offensive lineman last season. He looked great with everything, and he can also play center. So he's going to get reps literally everywhere. And I've said this before, I don't want him moving around too much. Let him kind of find a home and let him work on his craft and build himself up. But this one could also be good because, again, you go from left to right, and it's nothing but pretty much veteran depth. Now, obviously, Jesse Perry, just a redshirt freshman, but at least he's played some in this system, right? Like he spent an entire year in this system. And I love Larry Johnson playing at right tackle. I mean, just period point blank. I think that he could bring a lot to this team. So this one also looks really, really good. Now let's take a look at some of the depth pieces and youth on this offensive line. And we're going to start it off at left tackle with redshirt freshman Trevor Duncan, 6'6", 300 pounds. And man, we always say it, but just carries it like an absolute dream. Long arms, I mean, just prototype everything. And also his form, his technique, it looks beautiful. He's a guy that I would feel very fine with Tennessee rolling out there. Now, obviously, we got to see how all these guys look, especially these underclassmen, guys that haven't played that much. We got to see how they look in some live situations, but I'm not concerned about him at all because, his form looks good. He's got really quick feet and all that. He's a strong guy. So I think that he's going to be able to hold his own for sure at either tackle spot. But right now I've got him playing at left. Now, looking at the right tackle, I have redshirt freshman Jeremiah Hurd, 6'8", 330 pounds, probably the best looking player physically on this entire football team. I haven't seen him go in spring at all, but he's a guy that definitely needs those reps. So, we don't know how he's going to look, but I would expect once he does get several reps back to back to back, then yeah, he's going to be another one that Tennessee loves playing at right tackle or left tackle. Either one of them, just prototype. So let's go back to left guard. We'll talk about redshirt sophomore Shamrod Umarov, who can play a tackle too, right? Like we actually got him to play a tackle, 6'7", 330 pounds, but he's looked really good playing at guard. Actually, I think that it was versus Mississippi State last season. I said, dude, he looks like he's ready to go out there and play. He was actually one of the players that I talked about at guard. I said, I don't know if Tennessee really even needs to go out and add any more guards. If we do, let's just go add one because Sham can hold us down. And right now, Sam's probably going to be back up at left or at right, whatever side. I think he's played more on the left side, but either way, love his skill set, love his strength, love him in pass protection, but really maybe more so his run blocking. It was just absolutely excellent whenever he got his opportunities in 2024. Now let's talk about right guard. I do have Bennett Warren right here, redshirt freshman, 6'7", 335. Now Bennett Warren is not a guard. He's 100% a tackle on the right or left side, and he's played both, right? Last season, he might have played like I think 6 on the left, 6 on the right. It was something like that. But they're trying him out in both spots, and I've seen him so far this spring. He's been playing at left tackle, so he's probably going to be one of our backups for sure. Again, he could play either side, but yeah, I'm just kind of putting him here just so that we can see all these body types. Really big guy. He looks completely different this season compared to last year. He still has a little bit of a ways to go, but I think that he, movement wise, definitely looks a lot better. He's bending well and his footwork is really good. That was probably my biggest thing for him, but he's another prototype tackle. The center that I have right here is redshirt freshman Max Anderson, 6'5", 311 pounds. He looked really good. Now, we also got him to play at guard. I love him at guard. He's very technically sound. Might be maybe the most technically sound offensive lineman from that class in 2024. Either way, man, I love him at center. I love him at guard. And we have a plethora of different combinations that Tennessee can roll out there, and I'm very excited about all these guys. And this is the last lineup that we'll look at, and we'll start off right here at left guard. Redshirt freshman Gage Ginther, who could also play at tackle, but man, he's looked really good playing at guard so far. He just looks very natural. Like that looks like that's what he was supposed to be doing his entire life. So 6'5", 310 pounds. Very excited to see him go to work, and also just to hear what the insiders have to say about him. Whenever Tennessee's scrimmaging and things like that. But I think that he's going to turn several heads. He's another one that if he has to get thrown out there, I feel fine about it. I think he's going to be able to hold his own. And then let's go on over here to right tackle. I do have Antoni Cade Agumoro, true freshman that just came in this class. He's listed at 6'4", 320 pounds. Now, he's another one that is just a guard. I don't see him playing at tackle, but he's new to playing football, and so far, he looks even better than he did in his high school film, and we loved his high school film. So he's picking things up really quickly. He's going to grow exponentially, again, because he's new to playing football. But, yeah, I love his upside. I don't know how much he's going to get to play this year, right? Obviously, because we're so deep on the offensive line. But whenever his number is called, I'm excited about him because he's a dog. So let's talk about right guard. We have redshirt sophomore Aiden Bustle, 6'5", 314 pounds. He's an older guy, third-year guy inside the Heupel system. I loved him coming out of high school. Absolutely loved him. I thought that he would have been the best offensive lineman inside of that class. So far, it hasn't worked out that way. He does have to find a way to maybe work himself up that depth chart. I think that he could be pushing a little bit more with some of the other vets at guard specifically, because that's pretty much all that he's going to play. But he has it in him. I just want to see that come out. But, he actually looked pretty solid last season, especially towards the end of the year. You could tell that he was a lot more comfortable. And I saw him kind of getting back to that dog that we saw from him on his high school film. So maybe he's gotten more acclimated, and he's another one. I would not be surprised if the insiders and the coaches maybe start to rave about him as Tennessee starts to go through more of these live reps. And we'll talk about the last player right here at center, last but not least, true freshman Nick Moore, 6'3", 315 pounds. Prototype center. He's just like Seth, just like Coop, just like all the guys that we have playing at center for us. Very intelligent person. So it's not just about him physically, but mentally, his personality, I think that it fits very well at the center position. But physically, yes, he's got all the tools. He looks great. Like he looks like he's at, playing weight at this point. So I'm excited to see what he does too. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how many opportunities he's necessarily going to get to, maybe work himself into that 2 deep. I think that right now he's probably in that 3 deep. But yeah, I mean, there's a whole lot of bodies here that we trust. And from top to bottom, I love this offensive line. I feel like it could potentially be one of the strongest in the entire country. So we'll see how they play. Hopefully they will take that as kind of like a challenge and say, hey, we are going to prove to the whole world that we are the best offensive line in the entire country. And if they do that, obviously Tennessee's in a great spot because our offensive line, it was spotty, I would say, at best last season. But this year, I think that we're going to see a lot more consistency. Iron sharpens iron. So maybe even our front, 4, front 7 on defense kind of gets even better just because we've got, I would say, better athletes this year. Some of the younger guys, they've grown up some and not a shot at those veterans that just left last season. But, we just got to call it like it is. I think that we've got more athletes, and I think that we have more talent on this offensive line in 2025. So that's it for my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comments section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel See y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.